Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Phaedra and we flower farm in Australia. We're coming into our 5th season and we built our farm from scratch. You can watch this journey in over 200 videos on our YouTube channel. And we're just at the stage of starting to really make things pretty and to pop and to add visual interest. So very exciting time for us. But along the way, we've learnt a thing or two about setting up a flower farm and what works really well and what doesn't work very well. So in this video, we're going to work with Jenna to help her set up her new flower farm. Hello, I'm here with Jenna. And if you remember, I don't know how long ago it would be now that we stayed at Tellerwood.
A year now.
Do you reckon it'd be a year?
Yeah, it was winter.
Wow, so a year ago. She currently has her flower farm out at a property called Tellerwood. And if you remember back about a year ago, she invited us to stay in her Airbnb at Tellerwood. And it was beautiful. And she has had the startup of her flower farm out there. Everything was gorgeous, but it's just a lot of travel for her to go backwards and forwards all the time. So she's decided to move her farm, her flower farm, into her backyard. And she's got quite a big backyard. So we're going to go through the logistics and the plan of how to set up a flower farm. The first step of the whole process is to measure up your space. You can use Google Maps for this, but what's better is to use drone footage if you've got a drone or access to somebody that has a drone, or you can pay someone to get you a couple of aerial shots of your space. So that's what I did. I put the drone up and I've got some really neat, clear images of what Jenna's got to work with here. Then what I did was I just drew up a quick, just hand-drawn mud map sketch and started measuring out length. So, you know, you want to get your boundary measurements, you want to get measurements of any buildings or structures. Jenna has a tree line down each side of her property, so I measured in from the fence to where the tree line is. So Jenna was just saying it'd be really good for them to have, they've got a gate here, and to have a driveway that goes up there and out this back corner where there'll be another gate. And I was saying, not only is it good for your partner, but it's actually really good for her because she'll be able to drive in with trailer loads of things and then drive back out. You don't have to try to turn a trailer around, which is what we have to do at our place, which would be great if I had have thought of that. You want to take note of the direction of north. For us here in the southern hemisphere, we want north. North is the direction that the sun is going to hit everything all winter. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you're looking for south. That's the main direction that you want to know where the sun is going to hit everything all winter. I've got this really cool measurer. I don't know what it's called. It's like a clicky wheelie thing, and I just walk around. It's the easiest way to get large measurements. So I just walk behind this thing, the counter ticks over for me, and I can measure out a space really quickly and really easily, and I'm not having to worry about measuring tapes and things. So Jenna and I are just talking about the plan. She wants a workshop space up the back of the property, because it'll be where the, what would you say, like customer entry is, but it also keeps the house private.
That's right, away from the house.
So then that works for everybody. There is a really boggy area up in that back corner, and hey, and you want to put another tank in.
Another tank, yeah.
Are you thinking of putting some kind of screen in to hide the house from the flower field?
Could do.
Or you want to be able to see the flower field from the house?
Probably would be good to actually see.
Yeah, it'd be nice, hey? Yeah. Okay, so now we've just got to work out beds. So if you're going to do this, like, would you put...
I love play fine.
Would you put all the beds all in one go, or this will be a slow progression of building?
Thank you.
So do you want to build from the house end or the hut end?
Probably the house end.
And build it back?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Also taking into account that Jenna mentioned that she's got a boggy spot up one back corner. So you just want to kind of mark that out, and anything else like that, anything that could impact on the farming, just mark that out, or any zones that you can't put garden beds in, mark those out as well. Jenna and I then sat down and we talked about what her needs are and her wants. And this is the list that she came up with while we were speaking. She wants room for another water tank, a workshop space. She's thinking a 20-foot shipping container that she'll then convert into a nice workshop space, and to pop that up the back. A perennial area along one side, annual flower beds, Jenna really wants to try to fit as many growing beds in as possible. Her and her partner really value neat and symmetrical looking spaces, so that's very important in this plan. Jenna wants weed mat pathways, and at the time she was thinking pathways of around 50 centimetres. We then had more of a talk about that. I kind of mentioned that you need at least minimum 80 centimetres to get a wheelbarrow down your rows. If you've got, these posts in the way, you're not going to fit a wheelbarrow down there, and it is going to be a lot of extra work if you can't fit a wheelbarrow down between your rows, just because you want to be constantly adding to these beds with manures and compost and amendments, and it's just easier to dump a wheelbarrow down there. During talks with Jenna about the path and garden bed width, she had purchased the weed barrier, and it turns out it was 90 centimetres wide, so that dictated the width of the walkways because it's just easier. So she's going to have the walkways 90 centimetres, and she can put the weed barrier down without having to make cuts. And then she's decided to have her growing beds 1 metre wide, which is what we do here. And for us, it's an excellent width. Just with what we can purchase here in Australia, 1 metre wide beds with the 90 centimetre pathway works perfectly. I've then gone into Photoshop and set everything up based on the measurements and what Jenna wants, created her a bit of a coded map, and then I have written her out a 3-year staged plan for her setup for this space. And the reason that it's a 3-year staged plan is because if you try to do this all at once, it's very, very overwhelming and it's really unrealistic, especially when you're trying to set up your farm and grow and sell flowers at the same time. It's just best to take it easy in the beginning, especially while you're learning how to actually grow flowers and what works best in your space. And this is an ideal picture. This is ideal world what Jenna would be best to set up in her backyard, but things can change and we get into that as well. In Jenna's plan, I've done her up a 1-page A4 at a glance sort of sheet, which I've put up on the screen now, and she's also got a document that breaks everything down into detail. But this 1 page you can just pop up on the wall and keep yourself on track. So in year 1, Jenna's investments are a rotary hoe, which she's already purchased. And we talk about how we wish we had bought our rotary hoe / tiller at the beginning. We wish we'd just invested the money in that because it was a game changer. We set up most of this plot, so plot 2 for us, by hand, and it took almost 2 seasons. It was just so much work. We did a couple of beds, no dig, and the rest were by hand because it's just so expensive to do no dig, so we needed to utilise the soil that we had. As soon as we got that tiller, we had 2 more plots done within sort of another 2 seasons, so it just saved so much time. So that's the first recommendation: get a rotary hoe or a tiller if you're first setting up. If your farm is big enough to have a tractor and you've got a tractor, use that. If you've got the money to get a tractor and your farm's big enough for one, use that. But if you're farming on a smaller scale, it's a little bit too big to just all do the whole thing by hand, a bit bigger than your average backyard garden setup. The tiller or the rotary hoe is the way to go. So Jenna's already got hers. The next thing she needs to purchase for this first year is her hoops and her row covers. So the reason you want to have these on hand is things happen. You'll get your little tiny seedlings in, and then all of a sudden you're going to have a late frost and you're going to lose everything. So you want to be able to go out there, get the hoops over each bed, enough hoops to cover the rows that you've got, bird netting and the plastic net. You can think plastic cover. We use that sometimes to boost, especially in winter, like to boost the growth of things if we want to speed things up a little bit. Also for hail. In some places you might want to do frost cloth as well. We don't do that, but you want to have this stuff all on hand. Year 1, Jenna is also going to probably need some soil amendments like compost or manure. She might be able to get some mushroom compost, just something to start building this soil up and adding nutrients to the soil. Now's the time to order in some perennials. So she'll follow her planting plan for that, what to order in year 1 for the perennials. And the other thing to invest in this year for Jenna is some sort of farm stand, because she plans to sell her flowers, because she's got a main road going past her house, so it makes it really easy to sell from. And this doesn't have to be expensive. This can be materials that are really cheap. It could be an old cupboard that you put on wheels and open the doors up when you're ready to sell. Like, you can do this pretty cheap. It doesn't have to be an expensive setup, or Jenna could go out and spend a whole heap of money on it. So that's really up to her. So in year 1, the tasks are plant out those perennials, create the first 10 beds, which are going to make up plot 1, and that's all you're growing in for season 1. She's going to mark out the driveway and where that shipping container workshop space is going to go, because you just want to have a visual of where they are, and you just sit on it over the season, and you'll come to know if that's in the right place or not. Like, is this working, or do we need to switch that up and change, make some changes about where these things are going to go? So that's just kind of something you keep in the back of your mind for those big, expensive things that are going into the farm. I don't recommend doing those straight away. I think you need a season or 2 to just sit on it and, be really sure about where things are going. For now, until Jenna gets that workshop space, she's going to use the existing shed and set that up as a workshop space. So that's a task for season 1. There's also adding in the soil amendments, keeping an eye on this space at the back of the house. We want to know what the sun's doing here in the summer. If it's really sunny, it's not going to work as a shade bed. If it does have shade, which I don't think it will in the summer, you could use a shade bed. Otherwise, it might be able to switch over to another perennial bed, or maybe even a flower meadow for the summer. So it'll just be like a summer seasonal bed, because it does get a fair bit of shade through winter. Jenna also needs to, in year 1, keep track of her farm stand and flower sales. So how many bouquets she's making. One year we actually counted how many stems we cut from our garden, just to get an idea of what was doable in our area. And then lastly, this year, follow the growing plan for the flowers. End of year 1, we've got some reflection points. Do you need irrigation in year 2, or are you happy to keep hand watering? And one of the benefits of hand watering is you're keeping an eye on everything, because you're looking at it every day. And for us, we're still hand watering. We're moving into season 5. We've got a pretty big farm, and yes, it is annoying, but at the same time, I do like looking at the plants. It helps keep them healthier. We don't have a lot of bug problems, and I think it's because hand watering, we're spraying the bugs off all the time. And we have a lot of airflow. We've got wide pathways, and we're in a climate that we're not that humid, so we're not having to worry too much about the moisture getting trapped in leaves and things like that happening. So it may not work for everybody, but that's something for Jenna to have a think about at the end of year 1. Another thing at the end of year 1 to consider is, do you need some soil testing? Like, how did these plants and flowers grow for their first season? Did they look like they were doing really well? Did they do really well? Or do you think it might be time to get some soil testing done? How did the flower sales go? And also, at the end of the season, what did you think about the placement of the driveway and the workshop structure? Because they're things, the workshop location, because they're things that are going to cost a lot of money once you put them in permanently, and you want to make sure that they're in the right spot. Year 1 is the most intense year. Things start to ease off a little bit now. So year 2, the investments are the extra water tank, irrigation if wanted at this point. I would recommend employing an expert to set out that plan for the irrigation. Soil amendments, order more perennials if you've got more to pop in, and also if you're getting soil testing done, that's going to be something that costs a little bit of money this season. The task for season 2, create the next plot of 10 beds. So this is now plot B, and create that bed in front of the house if you've decided you want it. And you've decided on what kind of plants are going to go in there. If you haven't made your mind up about that, don't waste your time on it this season. Plant out your perennials, add the soil amendments. If you're seeking the professional for the irrigation plan, seek that out, and of course follow the growing plan. Reflection for year 2. If you didn't get irrigation, how are you feeling about that at this stage? Now you've got twice the amount of rows to water. If you want to put irrigation in, start thinking about getting that the irrigation plan done. How did the farm stand go, and how is the placement of the driveway and the workshop space? Okay, year three. Year three, I feel like this is the big one that is the most expensive. So this is the year that we've put down for Jenna to get her workshop space. So to buy that shipping container, get it put in place and start setting it up. Now, the setup for it this year could be quite, just do what you can. It doesn't have to look perfect. You've got the building there now at least. You could just put some fold out tables and plan what you're going to do with that space. You might at this point also be thinking, yep, I need to get the irrigation done, because you're going to be getting those last 10 rows in this season, and you could then have irrigation through the whole property. And of course, soil amendments. We always want to be boosting our soil, and if you've had that soil test, that will inform you as to what to be adding to the soil this year. So tasks, as I mentioned, those last 10 beds to make up plot C, you're adding your amendments to the soil, setting up the workshop space, adding the irrigation if you're having it, and following your growing plan. Because not only are we expanding the farm at this point, we're expanding the flowers that we're growing. Year three, the end of year three, the reflection, have I completed the plan? If not, it's not a problem. You just create a fourth year plan, you add in your investments, your tasks, and the reflection for the end of the fourth year. And things do happen. Like sometimes there's just too much on the plan, things are going on in life and you just can't get it done. Sometimes there's financial constraints, and the thing that you wanted to spend the money on, you now can't spend the money on, and it's fine. The thing that I like to remind people is farming is forever. So I don't know anybody who sets up a farm, regardless of the size. I don't know anybody who goes into gardening and does all this setup thinking to themselves, oh, this is just for 5 years and then I'm going to move on to something else. I don't know anybody who plans that. So ultimately you're setting things up to be doing this for who knows how long. Like it could be for the rest of your life. So I feel like it has no end date. So why are we rushing to get to a certain point by a certain time? We just do what we can with what we have and the time we have. And the main thing is to try to enjoy it. Like every year, what have I created this year that I'm proud of? You know, that's a really important question, and focus more on what you did do rather than what you didn't do. But the things you didn't do, you just pop them over into the next year's plan. How did the farm stand go? So you can look at the data over the last few years and make a decision about, is that the best way to sell flowers? Am I really happy with that? Also, the plan that what you've just created in your backyard, am I happy with how this looks, or do I need to make some little tweaks? Can I start adding, some height and some visual interest, and where do I want to put that? So at this point, you're starting to, think ahead a little bit more and think, how can I make this more beautiful and more purposeful for my purpose? Which brings me into the next one. Has my purpose stayed the same, or has it changed? So at this stage, right at the beginning, Jenna wants to grow flowers in her backyard and sell flowers for extra income. And she just enjoys it, like it's a hobby, like a passion for her. Is it still? Like, are you enjoying it now that you're doing it to make money? It's an important thing to ask yourself. And if not, how can you continue doing the thing that you love in a way that you love doing it? And that's sort of like, do I like the direction that this plan is headed in? If not, you reroute. As new information comes along, you can make new decisions. I always feel like that. Just because we have a plan doesn't mean we have to stick to it. We can change the plan. So at this stage, Jenna has her plan in place based on the information we have now. So she's got her map of how things are going to look in the future when it's all set up. She's got her at a glance A4 page just to keep her on track, and then she's got that bigger document with more information that she can refer to if she needs more help. We can follow along with Jenna's journey if you like, and touch base with her, I don't know, maybe every 6 or 12 months to see how things are going. I hope this has been helpful for you, that it's given you some things to think about and some direction about how to go about your own setup. If you would like access to Jenna's plan, if you think that could be helpful, I've actually put it up on my Patreon as a purchase, and you can go and purchase the whole plan with all the documents. Thank you so much, Jenna, and we really look forward to seeing what Jenna gets up to and how she goes. And I would love to hear in the comments if you're about to start up a farm and what your plans are. Okay, see ya. Bye.